Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining me today. It's Allan Laboucan with the Rocks and Stocks News Show. We've got another of our interviews with sponsors and executives of junior mining companies. And in this case, it's John Power from Athena Gold. Thank you very much for joining us, John.
Yeah, thank you, Alan. It's always great to talk with you.
Well, John, what really stands out to me is the quality of the project you have. And what that entails to me is that you've got this northern and southern fault system going through your one side to the other side. And inside of that, you've got this big area of alteration. And inside of that, you've hit high grade gold in oxides pretty much right at surface. And this is in Nevada. So all of these things combined make for a compelling story to me, John.
Yeah, absolutely. No, you summed it up perfectly. I mean, obviously as an industry person, we look at whatever other companies are doing, what other projects are out there. And we really feel like Excelsior Springs is a special project. We're very fortunate to have it. We've had great success so far, as you talked about, with the shallow, high-grade gold. The other thing that I guess is updated is, we completed a financing, and so we are going to have our RC rig out there probably the next couple of weeks, probably early June. And so, the timing is perfect because now we have a chance to go out and execute on expanding our Western Slope zone, drilling some more of that shallow, high-grade gold and really putting Athena on the map. That's our objective.
John, I've referred to this as bonanza grades, and I think sometimes people may not understand what I mean by that. But in an underground project, that would be considered anything over an ounce, couple ounces kind of stuff. But that's underground. In the case of an oxide deposit, some of your intersections included 33.5 meters of 5 grams per ton of gold, 16.7 meters at 10 grams, 6 grams over 27 meters, 30 grams over 10, or sorry, that's silver, 77 meters of 4.97 grams per ton of gold. Another hole hit 4.49 grams per ton of gold and 7.29 over 9 meters. So what I mean when I say bonanza grades, to put it into context, oxide deposits are being mined these days at 0.5 gram per ton of gold. So what you've intersected at Excelsior is orders of magnitude higher.
Yeah, no, it's pretty amazing. We've been very fortunate, and you're right. I mean, the cutoff grade can go down to as low of 1/4 gram gold, and in Nevada. And so, but I do think in the future going forward, new projects got to be north of 1 gram, and so I think that I think we stack up really nice against other projects that are being developed or explored in Nevada. As far as having a higher grade shallow oxide deposit.
Well, one of the more exciting oxide deposits that's being developed is about 50 miles from you guys to the south in the Walker Lane trend of Western Nevada by Anglo Gold Ashanti that has the Merlin and the Silicon discovery that's not very far from the Bullfrog mine. And why I can throw these numbers around a lot is because I had a lot of experience in that Bullfrog district. And, I saw, in fact, the company that, what was the name of the company that got taken over by Anglo? It was run by
Corvus.
Yeah, the ground that they got actually came from a company that I worked for
Oh,
as
wow.
a consultant.
Okay.
We
Yeah.
did pretty good on the stock. I think our company made about $7 to $10 million on that project. But the Bullfrog District is where the about 50 miles to the south of you guys, where Anglo Gold Ashanti is. Their first resource, their maiden resource, was 3.5 million ounces of oxide gold. So they've kind of stuck their flag in the ground down there, and now you guys look like you've got something very exciting for oxide gold in the Walker Lane trend.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah. And I just was, we just presented at a conference in Denver on Monday, a microcap conference, and Dave Beeling, who is our senior strategic advisor, as you know, worked closely with me and planning our projects. And he was president, as you know, of Bullfrog Gold until it became Augusta Gold. So, and he loves our project. And so we're just there in a great spot. I mean, it's pretty amazing. So we just need to execute.
Well, and on the execution front, you've got quite a rock star group of guys involved working with you to lead that towards success.
Yeah, we really do. We really do. I mean, Dave, as an example, he's been in the business for 59 years. I turned 60 last year. So Dave's been in the business as long as I've been alive. So having a guy like that on the squad is amazing. And then George Mannard, out of Toronto, has been extremely helpful. And then guys like, Don Strackens, he's out in the field right now, doing the initial prep work. And all these guys have 40, 50 years experience. And Ken Brook, you haven't met yet, was one of the original guys involved in this project, but really is pretty amazing. The team that we have that, support me in developing this project.
We've been fortunate enough on the shows to have a co-interview with you and Dave and you and Don.
Yes.
And Don is quite the character and is really extremely experienced in exploration and talented geologist. And I really was happy to have both those guys on because a big focus of my shows is trying to educate my audience about what these kind of guys do and what gets them out of bed to do in their they could be retired but they're not, and this project Excelsior Springs is what gets them excited.
Yeah, no, and it's really exciting to see them excited about the project, because obviously these guys have seen hundreds of projects over the years. And I remember my first conversation with Ken Brook and about Excelsior Springs, and he's like, that's one of my favorite projects in Nevada. And here's a guy that's looked at hundreds of projects, and this was before the Western Slope Zone and what I'm saying. And so it just, these guys are all, very experienced, very lot of background in Nevada and the geology. Geology is local, right? I mean, so having somebody that really understands Nevada, that's worked in the Walker Lane. Don's out there. He sends me emails every day about how this thing and that thing he's all excited about. And I try to, keep it, we just, let's just get the truth machine out there and drill out some more shallow, high grade gold. That's
well, from my perspective, I've got 30 years in the business myself as an exploration guy, and I understand what is needed to have a big system. You need those faults because they're the cracks in the earth that bring the fluids up to the surface. So you've got faults going pretty much north and south right across your entire project. Then you need, as those fluids carrying the gold hit the surface rock, it chemically alters that rock. So when you have a big faults, you want also a big alteration zone. And then ultimately you want to have the high grade mineralization. And your Excelsior Springs ticks all of those boxes. Big structural corridor, big alteration zone, and then that high-grade mineralization in the oxides inside of that alteration and faulting.
Yeah, and then, you know, we've talked about this before, but, you know, to go along with that is our southwest anomaly, which is a future drill target that just jumps off the map. And that could be the sulfide piece of this at depth, the heat machine, you know, I think as you or Dave called it, that generated the system that we're working on. But, you know, when we've got the shallow high-grade gold in the western slope, we have some great other targets down the road that are, you know, bigger picture targets. But right now, we got this great area we're working in the western slope. So
I'm glad you brought up that southwest side of the property, because if you follow the structures to the south and the west, the northern one bends and comes down, and the southern one intersects it.
Yes.
And right at that intersection, you've got a big geophysical anomaly. But what really excites me beyond the structural and the geophysical story, is there's a big, an intense alteration area right there as well, which is suggestive of that could be the heat source.
Yeah, absolutely. No, we see the same thing. And so we see the western slope zone, which is exciting by itself, as the tip of the iceberg. So there's lots to do, you know, in the future in subsequent drill programs after this one.
Well, you've got that southwest area of faulting, geophysics, and alteration. Then sort of in the center of the project is where you've drilled. But if you keep following those to the faults to the east, there's another area up in the mountain there and beside the mountain of intense alteration as well. So that whole belt is wide open for exploration.
Yeah, there's a big intersection up there also of some rhyolite, along with, you know, that crosses through there. We were talking about the other day on a technical meeting. You know, George Mannard was highlighting that as an exciting area of the future. And so I deemed it George's Supper Club, because we have an area we call Lunch Ridge. So we've added George's Supper Club to our areas to study in the future. So
yeah, well, I don't blame you, because that looks like, it's hard to say which could be the source, the southwest side of your claims or the east side of your claims. It's hard to tell, because you've got a mountain there, and something could have pushed that all up, and because you've got alteration right throughout the whole belt.
yeah, no, that mountain is really interesting. You know, as you know, last year or early, we announced it earlier this year, but we added some claims last year to go over the crest of Palmetto Mountain onto the other side. There's a lot of historic activity where there was high grade plums at the surface that were mined back in the olden days. So no telling how big this could be. And then also don't forget, you know, GE26, which was drilled by Global Geo over 10 years ago, you know, was 1,000 feet, or call it, you know, 300 meters that they drilled. And it was highly anomalous for like 600, you know, call it 200 meters of gold. And, you know, I'm trying to think of the different, you know, arsenic, all the pathfinder elements related to an intrusive and a really long intercept. So that's another, we need to do more science, you know, around GE26 before it becomes a drill target. But, you know, when we talk about an IRG system, that GE26, you know, ticks that box. So, you know, we've got more targets than we can handle.
Well, and you haven't even really gone into that. So you've got this at surface stuff, and in the at surface stuff, you're getting sniffs of base metals.
Correct.
And that really has me excited, because that means that below the oxides, you could be running into sulfides, maybe a porphyry, maybe another kind of mineralizing system. But something powerful made this big alteration area and made the mineralization you hit of high grade gold. And but then there's the potential for the base metals and the precious metals below the oxides.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. Because we believe, this is the Western Slope zone is definitely oxide, but we believe that originally it was sulfide and then oxidized in place, is kind of what the technical team thinks. So that, to me, when we found that out, because when we first looked at this, there was really there was no discussion around the base metals that were coming along, that were there in the system. And so we do think that validates the potential that there's sulfides at depth here.
Exactly. It's not the kind of grades that's going to get the market excited, but I have a pretty good understanding of how these systems evolve, and seeing right at surface those base metals in the oxides has me intrigued, because what's below that is a big question to answer.
Yeah, exactly. It feels like there's this great energy source down there, and then there's been, over millions of years, parts of it have worked their way up towards the surface. Obviously, the original high grade Buster mine was mined back in the late 1800s. So there's definitely a big system at play, we think.
Okay, so let me just share a screen here, and I'm going to bring up your corporate presentation. And as you can see here, let me just scroll down. Oh, here, okay. So first of all, Walker Lane Trend, Excelsior Springs. And as you can see, here's all the excitement around the Bullfrog District, Bullfrog North, Bullfrog Central, Bullfrog East, I guess you could call it. And then, okay, so we were talking, here's one part, this is the southern structure, and up here is the northern structure. As you can see here, I was talking about where they come together and this geophysical anomaly, and pretty much from side to side and going off of this where you have more claims is the big alteration area. And here's some Western Slope results. As you can see, this is very attractive grade for an oxide deposit. Okay, here's the one I wanted to get to. So here's your DB23, and 22 and 21 are right beside it.
Correct.
And here's your new drilling to expand on that, those high grade hits of oxide.
Yeah, because as you know, so that the Western Slope Zone and our discovery holes DB23, 2201, and 2202, which open to the east and the west and at depth. Our initial focus of this program is to extend it east and west on strike. I mean, it's so shallow. The holes we're planning. So let me just back up for a second. You can see the pads, those light blue lines, A, B, C, D. Those are all pads that we're building, and you can see it's right on this road, up to the Palmetto Peak that we're calling Palmetto Road. So access is really convenient, and so next week we'll be building those pads. We'll be drilling 1 or 2 holes per pad. To the south, I mean, the holes that were angled to the south, DB23, was what, was the discovery hole. So we're just going to replicate the success we've had going out east and west, and hope that, that the zone is there, and we can extend it.
And these squares, are they 100-foot squares?
Those are, yeah, so call it 30 meters. 100 feet or 30 meters step out. So
several step outs of 30 meters.
Yep, exactly.
And here's a cross section that shows the kind of rocks that their guys are shooting for.
Yeah, because what we've seen, you can see the limestone there, and that has capped the mineralization. And so, when in the rock chips, as we drill, you can see the transition going from the limestone into the mineralized rock. And that's why this mineralization is still sitting there. If it had outcropped, the old timers would have found it and it would have been gone already. So this is a situation where the limestone, capped or trapped this mineralization really just below the surface. And the mineralized, the intercepts here are so strong. Nobody believes this is just an accident. The question is, does it go east, west, or is it, just go to depth? Where does it expand?
Yes.
So, and that's what this drill program is going to, answer that question. And so we just see it as a huge catalyst for Athena, this drill program, because if we're able to expand this western slope zone with some more high grade intercepts, it's going to be just unbelievable.
Well, and that's not a pie in the sky, because I always watch the distribution of gold in a drill hole.
Yes.
And as you can see, you've got one nice group of hits here, 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 here. These are not accidents. This is a serious mineralizing system.
Yeah, no, we feel the same way. So no, we're really excited to get out there. But yeah, and there's on that, and it gets back to this point about this being an inflection point for Athena, because it really is and we're just, RC drilling, Nevada, it's affordable. We're working with the same contractor we used last year that we have a great relationship with. And so we just, we've got the team back together to go back out there and for this drill program. And you can actually, in that photograph there, that actually shows you what I just was talking about. You can see like the limestone cap. That's an area that's exposed on the property, and then you can see the mineralization below it.
Mm-hmm. So actually, I think you've already gone through the inflection point, John. Those three holes that you hit inside that big structural story and alteration story is pretty important to me. But I'm a little different than most people out there in that I do my homework and can have a fairly good guesstimate. And I think there's plenty of data that suggests that you guys are onto something very serious here.
Yeah, no, we agree. And we're also in this program, we're also going to do some work on GE14, which is to the east-south east, where there was GE14 is an historic hole that, let's see, yeah, go back up to, I think, is it slide 10? Nope, one more, go up. I think it's number 8. I'm sorry. Yep, there you go. So you can see GE14 down there to the east, southeast of the western slope zone. And so it had, call it 25 meters of over a gram at a depth starting at about 10 meters. And so we want to follow up on that. We don't know whether it connects to the western slope zone or whether it's something completely different. But the fact that we're seeing mineralization like that, 300 meters to the east of the western slope zone just shows you the potential here.
So what was hit in 26?
So in 26, that was a really deep hole. So that what I was just talking about was GE14, and we are going to drill a couple shallow holes around the historic GE14 to see, to try to develop that pod of mineralization. Now GE26 was 1,000 feet or about 300 meters, and it just from about 100 meters down to depth at which was 1,000 feet or 300 meters, was just highly anomalous gold and arsenic and all of the key pathfinders for an IRG. And so, like, for example, we may not see some of these pathfinders in the western slope zone. So there are so many different things happening in this project area that GE26 target which would be more of an IRG target. But we just feel like there needs to be more science done. That's a much deeper hole. We've got this high grade shallow gold. Let's flush that out first. Let's harvest the low hanging fruit.
Yeah, well, it's awfully nice that you can get in there with RC and you can do a fair bit of drilling on a small budget.
You absolutely can. So
Yeah.
no, I like working in Nevada. It's a great, as we all know, it's one of the top jurisdictions. So it's a great place, and so we're excited.
Not a better place to find oxide gold. Lots of gold mines there.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, Don and I we'll FaceTime you from the drill rig here in a few weeks, and
Maybe we should do an interview from the drill rig.
yeah, we'll have Don catching those rock chips and talking to you at the same time. We'll see if he can multitask. But yeah, we'll definitely.
I won't tell Don about your skepticism about his multitasking.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I'll tell him not to watch this interview to the very end.
Yeah, there you go, John. Well, I want to thank you very much for being a sponsor of the show, and you and your team spending time, because you've got a great team there, and I always like picking their brains because it helps my audience to understand what to look for. I often find so much, John, that investors in this sector spend all their time evaluating the day-to-day fluctuations in the stock price. But yes. I think the real way to understand value is to be watching the truth machine and those geological indicators that you guys are onto something serious, which I believe you are.
Yeah, no, we agree. And we really appreciate what you do. I mean, I think it's so important. If there were 10 more of you out there, it would be great, because there'd be more people to help companies explain what they're doing, and with your technical background and your experience in the industry, I think you have a worldwide audience, so we appreciate working with you and being a sponsor of your show.
Well, it's all a genesis of having great mentors, John. I include some great mentors in geology, geophysics, geochemistry, and then my shows have enabled me to have, mentors like Yale Simpson and Andre Goumond and Rob McEwen. And I'm a big believer in passing on the knowledge that I've been fortunate enough to get, and I think it's good for investors to hear as well. Yeah,
I like it when you sandwiched me between Rob McEwen and you and Downey. That's a good day for me.
So. There you go, John. Well, I'm looking forward to the drilling. I'm looking forward to updates along the drilling, and be great to get you and Don from the property beside the drill rig.
We'll definitely do that. So really appreciate your time. Good to catch up.
Okay, I'm going to close it off. Thanks a lot, John.
Thank you.
There you go, folks. In Athena Gold, you have a company with a $12.8 million Canadian valuation. They're in a great part of Nevada, which is one of the best mining jurisdictions and exploration and development jurisdictions in the world. They've got this big structural corridor. Inside of that structural corridor, they have got a wide area of alteration, and inside the alteration and the structural corridor, they've hit very high grades in oxides. I don't think this is a small system. I think it's a big system of oxides with the potential for sulfides below it. And I'm really excited to have them on as a sponsor and be able to follow this as it reaches success, which I think they're going to, and that success would mean a significantly higher valuation. On that note, as always, my shows are for information purposes only. Speak with your financial advisors, do your homework. A good place to do that homework is go to my YouTube channel at Rocks and Stocks News, and you'll find the interviews that I did with John and two of his key people in separate interviews. So do that homework. It'll pay off. Have a great day, and we'll talk to you soon.